Hey, it's Bass here from Metro Hobbies, and today we're going to be checking out one of our best-selling beginner RCs, the Blackzon Slyder. These have been around for a little while. We just got some fresh stocks of them, so let's take a closer look and see what these guys are all about. So as always, when you get one of these out of the box, you're going to be greeted with a few things. You get the car fully assembled and ready to go. You get your radio, a manual, and a bag full of little goodies. Now, before we get to all of this, a couple of things I do need to point out. Obviously, as you can see, there's two different versions of the car. You got the monster truck, which sits up a little bit higher, and you got the truggy, which sits a little bit lower, and it has the rear spoiler. Now, speaking of the rear spoiler, you do need to mount that on. They obviously didn't mount it on from factory, obviously for shipping purposes, but they do include the screwdriver and the hardware to mount that on. It's only 2 little screws, super simple to do. Anybody can bolt that spoiler on, and then the car's pretty much ready to go. Now, regardless of which version you get, you are going to need to do a couple of other things. The body actually comes with a protective film on it, so you'll see here there's like a yellow sticker. That kind of indicates that it still has this plastic film on the body. Once you peel that off, you'll see this beautiful, nice, shiny body that you see here. And then, of course, there's some stickers that you do need to apply. So make sure you apply those stickers after you remove that film. Otherwise, that film will eventually peel off over time. It'll take the stickers with it. So once you've got that done, there's instructions in the manual, as well as the sticker sheet is in the manual for you to apply those stickers and decorate the car to your liking. And then you are ready to go once you charge up your battery. Now, moving on to the bag of goodies that you get, one of the first things you're going to see is some zip ties and these little LED lights. A really cool feature with these cars is that you can actually mount LED lights to the front bumper of the car, and this just plugs into the speed controller. It's a very simple process to do, and then of course they give you some zip ties to obviously tidy up the cabling if you want to. So that's a really cool feature that these cars come with. In here as well, I'll take the rest of it out. They do give you a full set of spare body pins, so you get 4 spare body pins in the bag. The screwdriver that I mentioned earlier to put the spoiler on, and then of course you get your USB charger as well. This is a 5-volt 2-amp charger, and it should take you around about 2 to 2.5 hours to charge this battery up using just a standard USB port. Now, they do recommend or even suggest that you can use a smartphone power brick to power the charger up. I would use a little bit of caution in that regard. Make sure that your power brick is not one of those hyperchargers, super powerful charge bricks that pumps out a little bit more than 5 volts because you could burn out this charger. Ideally, you just want to plug this into like a spare PC USB port or a laptop or something like that, or just a very basic power brick. Don't go too overboard with these chargers. They're very simple chargers, and I have seen people actually burn these out. Now, moving on to the manual. The manual is actually really nice. It's got some nice illustrations in there. You see there right on the first page is the instructions on how to actually set up your stickers. And then you got all the contents and what the radio does and what the ESC does and all that sort of thing. Charge times are illustrated down here. And then, of course, you've got how to operate the car, what the steering does, steering trims, all these sorts of things. And then at the back, there's actually exploded views. There's part numbers for everything. We do stock a full range of parts for these vehicles as well as spare batteries. So everything is included in here, which is fantastic. Really nice manual. Make sure you hold on to that and keep that in a safe place. Now, the radio itself is one of the nicer radios that you'll find with a ready to run, especially at this price range. This is a nice little pistol grip radio. It does have a little button here on the handle. This button doesn't do anything at this stage. It would be nice if you turned the lights on and off, but it doesn't actually do that. And then of course you're just going to need some AA's to run the radio, which I think go in long ways. I think it only takes 2 as well, as opposed to 4. So you might just need to pinch a couple out of the TV remote or something like that if you haven't got any lying around. So on the top here, you'll see the on and off switch, and then over here on this side there is a steering trim, and then on the opposite side is the speed switch. Now, this is a really good feature for these particular cars because for people that want to give this to like a young child as a present because they are so affordable, they are a little bit worried, oh, I don't want it to be too fast, is this going to smack it into things? You can actually control the top speed by dialing this little knob down, and then when he pulls the trigger, you know, he's not going to go full speed into a wall or a curb or someone's leg or something like that. Top speed on these guys is rated somewhere around about the 30 km/h mark, so they do, you know, they are a little bit zippy, especially for the size. Even though 30 k's may not seem a lot like for me and you, when you have something this small going at about 30 k's an hour, it's actually going to feel a lot faster than what it actually is. So having that little speed dial on there just to turn down the top speed, I think is a fantastic little feature. There's also no collapsible antennas or anything like that to break off. So these radios have actually been pretty good, and they're a great little addition to this very budget-friendly car. Okay, so now moving on to the main event, which is of course the car itself. And these are a great little car, very cool looking. I love the body on them. I love the way that these things are kind of finished off. Very, very nice little cars. Very clean underneath as well on the underside of the chassis, so it'll glide over, you know, rough surfaces and things like that. The tyres aren't too bad either. They are not foam filled though. So they're just kind of hollow inside. But, you know, the fact that they actually have these little grippers for the body pins, I think, is a great little addition, especially for little fingers that are, you know, struggling to take the body pins off. These are a great little thing. A nice little tip as well for you not to lose the body pins when you're taking them off out in the field and swapping out batteries. If you have a little tiny magnet lying around the house, stick it to the underside of the body with a bit of tape, and then you can just pop your body pins on top of the body, and then that way they won't fall off or anything like that. So it's a nice little tip there for you. I've been using that for many years. So inside the car, you'll see here we have our speed controller and receiver. So this is a two-in-one system. We have the motor back here. We have our battery that's already kind of fitted to the car, and we have our tiny little steering servo just on the front there. Now on the side where the motor is, there's a little red button, and that's what turns the car on and off. So you've got to press and hold that button for a little while to turn it on, and of course turn it off as well. So a nice little feature. And you'll see on top of the ESC, there's a little spare plug there, a little port for you to plug your LEDs into. So that's what that's for. Bumper on the front is actually quite squishy. It's quite nice. So if you do take some impacts on the front, this should actually absorb the impact quite well. There's a tiny little bumper on the back as well, but hopefully you won't be landing too many times on the rear. The spoiler also has a really nice flex to it. So what that means is that if you do take a cartwheel or take a little bit of a tumble, this is just going to flex and kind of bounce back to its original shape, which is a nice little feature. So this is a four-wheel drive vehicle, as you can probably tell. You've got an aluminium center drive shaft running all the way through. You've got plastic drive shafts front and rear. Now these are plastic, but honestly these are perfectly fine for these particular vehicles. We actually haven't had too many issues with the plastic drive shafts on these cars. These are actually pretty solid as well. Well, I've been selling quite a number of these cars and really haven't had too many issues with diffs or anything like that. Now, I will point a couple of things out as well regarding these. It does say on the box that this is actually waterproof, or it's got waterproof electrics. I would use a little bit of caution here because I know that it's very tempting, especially for little kids, to take these cars and go find the biggest puddle at the middle of the paddock somewhere on the road and run these cars through the biggest puddle they can find. But that's really not ideal. Waterproof electrics basically means that if you are going to run it on a wet road, maybe some grass that's a little bit moist or wet, you'd probably be okay. But I wouldn't go as far as submerging this in water. You can rust these components out quite easily, and of course the electrics, given the price point of the vehicle, they can only handle so much moisture before they eventually fail. So use a little bit of caution there. If you want to splash around through water, we've got a great range of boats that you can look at as well. So that's pretty much it. Now these shocks are plastic body shocks, but they do have threaded bodies on them, which means you can adjust the tension of the springs quite easily. They look as though they got really light oil in them, so you can probably tune these shocks out a little bit to dampen the suspension and make this a little bit nicer. But other than that, out of the box, for what they are, these little guys are fantastic. They perform really well. They're nice and zippy. They're actually really durable. We have a section, like a wall full of spare parts for these, and we've hardly sold anything. I think the most that we've sold has just been spare batteries and a couple of nuts and bolts, screws that have backed out or something like that along the way. Other than that, as far as spare parts and plastic bits and pieces, there's been very, very few purchases of those, which means that these guys are actually doing very, very well and performing as they should, especially for the money that they are. So a really nice little car. Of course, as I said, available in the monster truck version as well, and available in the two colors that you see here. So you can get the Truggy in the gold if you prefer the gold Truggy, and you can get the monster truck in the green as well if you prefer that. So yeah, these are a great little car, great little gift ideas as well for birthdays, Christmases, all that sort of thing, or for anybody that just wants to dip their toes in the hobby. These are fully serviceable, hobby grade RCs, so they're a great little thing to get you started. So that wraps up this video of the Blackzon Slyder. If you have any further questions about these cars, please be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out the video description. We'll have links in there to these cars for you to check out on our website as well. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll be speaking to you all next time. Cool.